The first time that I remember going was with my dad. I was probably 9 or 10, probably about 1950 or 51. He wasn't a bird hunter or a duck hunter, he just hunted deer. So I started going deer hunting with him and just kind of tagging along with him.
Ormy Pitcher's family is part of a group of hunters that have maintained a hunting camp at Enchanted Pond near the Forks in Somerset County, Maine. The group acquired the old logging camp in the 1950s and turned it into a hunter's camp.
My first memory and recollection of going in there in 50, they started going in 52, and I started hunting in 54. I went up in 53 fishing, but didn't hunt with my dad until 54 up there, so I was 13 years old. And when I can remember the old hovels being there, there's two camps, the clerk's camp and the main camp, which we use as our main camp, I assume was probably the cook shack and maybe some of the bunkhouse, but the hovels and the bunkhouses were around the perimeter of the two camps.
But by then, Pitcher's father had already introduced him to the woods.
I had an old 30-30, and he more or less taught me the basics of hunting and the safety factors of it, you know. And then by the time I was 12 years old, I was hunting by myself. I'd go after school nights, and he evidently felt comfortable that I was able to take care of myself, and I knew the safety part of it, you know. But I always hunted. From then on, I mean, I hunted all the time. We used to do a lot of hunting after school nights and weekends, and I always took a week off from school and went to Enchanted with my dad every Thanksgiving week every year for 40 years, I guess, 30 years anyway. Yeah. I used to get in a lot of trouble at school, have to make up all the hours that I missed and all the work that I missed, but I was allowed to do it by my parents. So.
In the early 1950s, when the hunting camp started, French-speaking logging crews were still working the area.
When I first started going up there, they were working about halfway in. They had a big camp on the main road going in there, and there wasn't anybody that spoke English. I mean, I didn't speak French, so it was pretty hard to converse with them, but we always got through. They had a gate across the road, and sometimes there was arguments about who was going to go in, who they'd let in, who they wouldn't let in, but we usually got around it.
At that time, the lumbering crews used horses to drag the logs out of the woods to where they could be loaded.
They worked long hours. They were in the woods at daylight and before daylight, and they didn't leave until after dark. And they had, usually most camps had a cookie, a cook's helper, or some of them had, for big camps, had several of them, but they would take a lunch to the men and feed them at lunchtime. They fed them well because they had huge appetites because they worked hard, you know, yeah. The cook was always frying donuts and, you know, making breads and pies, and they could eat as much as they wanted, when they wanted it, if they were in the camp, you know. They had to go in and sit down and eat and not talk. If they had a big crew of men, they wanted them into the cook shack, fed and out, so that the rest of them could come in behind them and whatever.
Pitcher's connection to the woods is still strong. He says he liked to walk the woods before they were clear-cut, following game trails and observing wildlife. He hopes that's something the next generation can enjoy as well.
I've already got grandchildren that are hunting, and I hope that their kids are still able to get out and enjoy the outdoors. They don't have to be hunters. They can just get out and be in the outdoors, you know. I don't care if they're a bird watcher, if they enjoy watching, you know, just enjoying the wildlife and being out there. Hopefully it will always stay so that they'll be able to do that.